Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if you are here right now, then you already know that something major has been happening in the world of BTS and specifically with one ParkJimin. Because the internet has been absolutely unhinged for the past few days, and if you have been anywhere near social media, you already know what I am talking about. The Swim music video dropped, and from the moment it hit YouTube, something shifted. Not just in the BTS fandom, not just in the K-pop world, but genuinely across the broader internet. People who have never even listened to a BTS song in their life were sharing clips, screenshots, and reactions. And at the center of all of it was one person, Jimin, standing there in a golden wig and a white shirt, barely saying a word, and somehow making millions of people feel everything at once. Today we are going deep into why this moment hit the way it did, why the Disney Prince comparison spread like wildfire, and what this MV actually says about where Jimin is as an artist right now. So let's get into it. Okay, so before we even get into the visuals, I want to set the scene properly. BTS just came back after nearly 4 years of hiatus. The album is called Erarang, it dropped on March 20th, and it has been one of the most anticipated comebacks in K-pop history, honestly one of the most anticipated comebacks in music history, full stop. 7 members, all back, all having spent years growing individually through their solo careers and military service. The weight of expectation around this project was enormous. Fans had been waiting, counting down, holding their breath. And then the music video for Swim dropped, and everything just landed perfectly. Now, Swim is the title track of Erarang, and the music video was directed with an incredibly cinematic and almost theatrical visual language. Every frame looks like it was pulled out of a painting. The color palette is soft but rich, the lighting is gorgeous, and the overall mood is this beautiful blend of melancholy and hope, which honestly is very on brand for Jimin as a creative. But what nobody was fully prepared for was the way Jimin himself showed up in this video. Because this was not just a good performance. This was a statement. Let me describe the look first, because we need to talk about it. Jimin appears in the video wearing a flowing white shirt, simple, elegant, almost old-world romantic in its silhouette. And then there is the hair. Golden. Longish. Ethereal. The kind of hair that in any other context might seem like a bold fashion risk but on Jimin just looks like it was always meant to exist on him. And the combination of that golden hair, the white shirt, and the way he carries himself in the video, slow, deliberate, almost like he is floating through each scene, immediately triggered something in people's brains. The Disney Prince comparison did not come from nowhere. It came from a very genuine and very visceral reaction that millions of people had simultaneously. He genuinely looked like someone had pulled a Disney animated character out of the screen and made them real. And not just any Disney character, the kind that carries the emotional weight of the whole film. The one whose scenes make you cry even when you were not expecting to. And here is the thing that made it even more powerful. Jimin does not rely on big gestures or dramatic choreography in this video. He is incredibly restrained. His performance is almost entirely in his face, in his eyes, in the subtle shifts of his expression from one moment to the next. There is a scene early in the video where he just looks directly into the camera, and the amount of emotion that passes across his face in about 3 seconds is genuinely staggering. It is the kind of performance that actors spend years trying to learn how to give, and Jimin just delivers it like it is second nature. Fans immediately started calling it the look L, and screenshots of that specific moment flooded Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. The Disney Prince label stuck so fast and spread so wide because it was not just about how he looked. It was about the whole feeling of the visual narrative he was creating. Disney princes, at their best, have this quality of being simultaneously larger than life and deeply human. They feel like ideals, but they also feel like real people who carry real pain, real longing, real love. And that is exactly what Jimin was channeling in Swim. There was nothing cold or untouchable about his presence in this video. It was warm and aching and deeply, genuinely emotional. He looked like a prince but he felt like a person. And that combination is incredibly rare and incredibly magnetic. Now, the fan reactions were something else entirely. Within the first few hours of the MV dropping, the phrase Jimin Disney Prince was trending in multiple countries simultaneously. Fan edit accounts went into overdrive. People were taking frames from the video and placing them side by side with scenes from actual Disney animated films, and the comparisons were disturbingly accurate. Someone made a side-by-side of Jimin and Flynn Rider from Tangled that honestly broke my brain a little because the visual energy was identical. Someone else compared him to Philip from Sleeping Beauty. Others went with Prince Eric from The Little Mermaid. Every comparison was slightly different, but they all captured the same thing, this timeless, fairytale quality that Jimin was radiating throughout the entire video. And it was not just fans who noticed. Entertainment journalists and cultural commentators who cover music more broadly were writing about the Swim MV and singling out Jimin's presence as something exceptional. One recurring phrase in these write-ups was that his performance was wordlessly cinematic, meaning that he communicated everything through image and movement without needing lyrics or dialogue to carry the emotional load. That is an incredibly sophisticated thing to be able to do, and the fact that Jimin pulled it off in what is arguably the most high-pressure comeback of his career is a testament to how much he has grown as a performer. But let me take a step back here, because I think it is worth talking about why Jimin specifically is the one who pulled off this kind of moment. Because it did not happen by accident. If you have been following Jimin's journey over the past few years, particularly through his solo work, you will have noticed a very intentional evolution in the way he presents himself as an artist. His solo album Face, which dropped in 2023, was deeply personal and emotionally raw. Songs like Crazy pushed him into pop territory that was completely different from anything he had done with BTS, and the way he engaged with that project, the vulnerability, the openness, the willingness to be uncomfortable, showed that he was not interested in playing it safe. He wanted to find out who he was as a solo artist, and he was willing to go through some genuinely difficult creative and personal excavation to get there. And then military service happened. And while we do not know everything about what that period was like for him internally, what we can see in the person who emerged on the other side is someone who has a very settled, very clear sense of who they are. There is a groundedness to Jimin in this comeback era that feels new. The nervousness he confessed to on Weverse, saying he was so anxious he did not know what to do, actually makes the confidence he projects in the Swim MV even more remarkable. Because he was scared, genuinely scared, and he still walked into that video and gave one of the most assured, captivating performances of his entire career. That gap between how he felt and how he performed is the definition of professionalism, and it is also the definition of artistry. The golden hair, by the way, deserves its own conversation, because it became a cultural moment in itself. Within hours of the MV dropping, Jimin golden hair was trending separately from the Disney Prince discourse. People were calling it a full character unlock. Stylists and fashion commentators were talking about how the color choice was not arbitrary. Gold has this mythological and fairy tale resonance that absolutely served the visual concept of the video. It is the color of magic, of warmth, of something precious and otherworldly. And on Jimin, with his particular features and the way he carries himself, it worked in a way that felt almost destined. Several fan accounts pointed out that the golden hair brought a specific kind of soft power to his presence. It made him look simultaneously more delicate and more commanding, which is a paradox that only a very specific kind of performer can pull off. Now I also want to talk about the vocal performance in Swim, because the visual conversation has been so loud that the actual singing has been slightly underappreciated in the broader discussion, and that is a crime. Jimin's voice in Swim is doing something really interesting. He is using a softer, more restrained register for most of the song, which is a deliberate choice that amplifies the emotional weight of the moments where he does open up. It is a technique that great ballad singers use, holding back, and then releasing, so that when the release comes, it hits you like a wave you were not prepared for. And the moments where Jimin does let his voice expand in Swim are genuinely breathtaking. Fans who have been following his vocal development over the years have been in full meltdown mode because this is Jimin at his most controlled and his most powerful simultaneously. His tone in this song has this quality that is hard to describe in words. It is warm and aching and very, very human. It sounds like longing. It sounds like someone who has been through something real and is singing from the other side of it. The combination of the vocal performance and the visual performance is what made Swim such a complete and devastating artistic statement. Neither element would have hit as hard without the other. The visuals gave the vocals a world to live in. The vocals gave the visuals an emotional core. And Jimin was the thread that held all of it together, moving through the video with this quiet, magnetic gravity that made it impossible to look away. Fan communities have also been making an interesting observation about the Disney Prince comparison that I think goes deeper than just aesthetics. They are pointing out that Disney princes, particularly in the classic era of animation, were often characters defined more by their emotional journey than by any specific action they took. They were protagonists who felt things deeply and whose stories were fundamentally about connection to another person, to a world, to a sense of belonging. And when you listen to the themes of Swim and when you watch the way Jimin inhabits the video, that emotional DNA is very present. The song is about movement, about pushing forward even when you are afraid, about finding your way through something that feels overwhelming. And Jimin tells that story not through words but through presence. He becomes the feeling that the song is trying to express. That is not a small thing. That is the whole thing. There is also something worth noting about the global reach of this conversation. The Disney Prince comparisons were not coming from just one region or one fan demographic. They were coming from ARMY in Indonesia, in Brazil, in the United States, in the Philippines, in France, in Nigeria. People who grew up with completely different Disney films, who had different points of cultural reference for what a Disney prince looks and feels like, all landed on the same comparison independently. That kind of universal resonance tells you something important about what Jimin achieved in this video. He tapped into something that crosses cultural and linguistic borders, a kind of archetypal beauty and emotional openness that human beings across wildly different backgrounds all recognize and respond to in the same way. And the internet, true to form, made sure the moment was preserved in every possible format. Compilations of the best Jimin frames from Swim racked up millions of views. Fan-made AMVs set to orchestral music went viral in non-K-pop spaces. Reaction channels that normally cover completely different kinds of content were posting their first watch responses to the MV. People were sending the video to friends who had never expressed any interest in K-pop, and those friends were coming back saying, "Okay, I understand now." That is the power of what Jimin put on screen. It was a gateway moment. It was the kind of performance that converts people who are on the fence into people who get it. So where does all of this leave us? Honestly, in awe. Because this comeback was already monumental before Swim even dropped. BTS returning after 4 years, the Gwangwoman concert, the Netflix broadcast, the Tonight Show appearances, all of it was already historic. But Swim, and specifically Jimin's performance in Swim, gave this comeback something that goes beyond event and into the realm of art. It gave people an image and a feeling they are going to carry with them for a long time. The golden-haired, white-shirt, quietly devastating ParkJimin standing in that video is going to be one of those images that defines a moment in music. And the fact that he was so nervous beforehand that he did not know what to do makes it even more extraordinary. Because he transformed that fear into something beautiful, and the whole world got to witness it. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, I genuinely appreciate you. This is the kind of content I love making, diving deep into a moment that deserves more than a surface-level reaction. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, it helps more people find the channel. Subscribe if you have not already, and hit the notification bell because with BTS back in full force, we are going to have a lot more to talk about very soon. Drop a comment below, what was your reaction to the Swim MV? Were you ready for what Jimin did? I genuinely want to know. I will see you in the next one.